All right, welcome in everybody to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. We got a big show planned for you guys because obviously we are a week from the draft, which is crazy because I thought we were 2 weeks away from the draft, and you kind of made a similar mistake. You were like, "I think we're 2 weeks away from the draft," and I'm like, "No, like I think we're a week away." And sure as shit, we are a week away from the draft, and prep has gone on. You know what's interesting, James, is I went back because I wanted to see this because Brad Holmes talked about in his press conference. He said we got to get the live mock draft out, but Brad Holmes in his because we're gonna do that later, but we got a lot of planned before that. Brad Holmes talked in his press conference, and I thought it was interesting. He mentioned how the draft being in Detroit was a big thing for the scouting department. It was very hard for them to keep focus on their jobs and everything. So I went back, and if you go look at the teams that have had drafts in their cities, so Detroit's was 2023 last 2023.
2024, right?
Green 2024.
Yeah.
But it was a 23 draft, wasn't it? I don't know.
No, because that was. I wish it was, because then we would have hit it out of the park with it was the Terry and Arnold.
No, 24 draft because that was Arnold and everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
2024. So then the Green Bay was the year after. So there. Okay, yeah. that makes sense. And if you look at every team that has ever drafted in their own city, the statistics are horrible.
For how the players are. Or?
The teams that pick in their own cities, there's only 3 or 4 decent players.
Okay.
There is no all-pro. There is no Pro Bowler. I think the only one that was really like kind of good, but he's kind of turned into a pumpkin, is Josh Sweat from Philadelphia. I think that was the same draft. He was while they were in Philadelphia, but Tennessee, no. Pittsburgh has a draft this year, so I'll be interested to see if it goes into things. But it is funny because when I just wanted to look back at it and see like, okay, who and what, and because the Lions struggled in that draft big time with the Ennis Rakestraw pick and just go down the line. But I didn't think it was that bad of a draft. But if you look at the whole correlation of all these teams that have drafted in their own cities, it's pretty remarkable how bad they've done. It really is. And I didn't expect nothing of it because the only reason I wanted to look it up is because Tom Telesco, who used to be a general manager of the LA Chargers, San Diego Chargers, he said that when he talks to people in his industry, which is general managers, they say like they don't want the draft in their city. They just don't. So interesting.
Yeah, hopefully Terry and Arnold can be the outlier then, because that's still really the one player in that draft that kind of, I mean, when you're picking end of the first round, I mean, I think you've highlighted this well. You'd love every pick to be incredible, but if your first round pick can be a hit, I think that's, for the most part, can kind of make a draft. So, I mean, huge year in general for the 2024 class, because we still don't even know, if Ennis Rakestraw can be anything and contribute to the team, that'd be incredible. And then if Terry and Arnold can stay healthy and be a positive, all of a sudden people are going to be talking about that class as a world beater. So, it is interesting but to your point, the Packers, they traded up to get Golden, who got 0 touchdowns until I think the playoff game.
The last week, yeah.
The very last game in the playoffs, he scored a touchdown in their loss. But yeah,
I know the Packers draft. I know the Packers draft is a little bit new, but that class doesn't look as ominous of something, So
sure.
There wasn't one guy in the thing that, because you mentioned Matthew Golden, I just wanted to give clearance that there's not one guy after Matthew Golden that was like, oh, this guy's going to hit it.
What was their draft class after that? Do you have it pulled up there?
Let me get their draft class because I had it.
Now that's going to be a super important one going forward, because now obviously they don't have first round picks in the future. So and they traded up, I believe, to get them. So maybe they didn't even have that much even after.
So you're really gonna be like, okay, this is pretty gnarly. Um, Matthew Golden, Anthony Belton, the tackle,
That was in
did
the second round.
second round.
Okay.
Savion Williams, which he looks all
Yeah,
right.
that's bust, I'm gonna say. Total waste of it. That was a third round pick.
Yeah,
Okay.
fourth
He really
fourth round
needs
pick.
to have an amazing year this year too.
Fourth round pick was a Baron Sorrell, which he was.
What
eh,
position is that?
he's a defensive end.
Okay. I can't say
Um,
I've heard of him
Chris
before.
Oliver, another defensive end from Oklahoma State. He didn't play much. Warren Brinson, the defensive lineman, which he did play a little bit in the middle of defensive tackle. Michael Robinson, who didn't play a game, and then John Williams, who did not make the team from Cincinnati. So yeah, it was not really a good
Not
draft.
great, yeah.
So it was pretty terrible. And if you go back and you look at some of the teams that have drafted or had the ability to draft in their own city, and not good, like not good. And that's kind of where I stand. So Pittsburgh's up next, and we'll see what they do. I mean, if they go out and they take Ty Simpson with the first round pick, we're going to be heading towards another year of these draft picks just not lining up like they should. So
Hopefully, the Cardinals draft that's I've been seeing that rumor that they're gonna draft the Ty Simpson and
when we do our live mock draft, we will tell you who
yeah,
drafts them. So
great. See
that'll
if
be
it's on
good.
the
So
Lions schedule.
and we gotta figure out if we want to have trades or no trades. We'll think about that when we get to that part. But let's get to the news of the day. Well, not the news of the day, but Brett Holmes did speak this week, and his whole thing was about maximizing strategy, which he said, I feel like we did the best that we could and with the mix maximize the resources we had available to those are good positions to have. He was basically talking about, the financial the ability to sign his own players like Jack Campbell and Jameer Gibbs, who they're still deciding if they're going to use a fifth year option. Now, I have heard some interesting kind of like tidbits to it. So like you think about the fifth year option for Jack Campbell. Well, there's people that think that he could be lumped in with an edge rusher. So his option would go up higher. And obviously Jameer Gibbs, do you want to get him locked down now or do you want to get him locked down later? And I think if you're trying to play the game of is the cost going to go up? I mean, look at some of the players that are going to. When does Bijan get a deal? Like, does the Atlanta Falcons try to beat you to the punch? Because that's kind of like your comparison right now. So I don't know where you stand on the whole the option thing, but when I heard that Jack Campbell could get lumped in with edge rushers, I said, "Holy shit, you might have to pay Jack Campbell for his option."
Yeah, I mean, it really seems like just from sitting back and reading the tea leaves and the reports and everything like that, it certainly seems inevitable that the Lions are going to extend those two players this offseason. Now, if you're going off some of the similar timelines, it would be pretty much right around now. I mean, I remember speaking of the Detroit draft you were referencing, it was days before that draft where a bunch of the original extensions happened with Sewell and St. Brown and
Goff, yeah.
yeah, and so if it is going to happen, it very well could be right around now. And yeah, I did see that. That is interesting with Jack Campbell, and that that just seems like kind of a weird thing in general that it can even you're even trying to analyze it from that way because he's really not an edge rusher at all. But yeah, it could just be a weird technicality thing. I've seen a lot of people have a ton of different opinions on Jack Campbell specifically, just because he just seems like he's for sure just a true Lion, and he doesn't seem like someone really that would on surface care that much to haggle or whatever. He just wants to get a deal done and play football. But in the same
Yep.
time, if there is that thing with it kicks in automatically and it is way more money than it would be otherwise, But yeah, I almost don't even think too much about those two guys at this point, just because in my mind it's so inevitable that they're probably going to be both extended pretty shortly.
Yeah, I think they're going to be extended shortly, and I was perplexed when I heard that Jack Campbell qualifies as an edge rusher because they lump in the linebackers with the edge rushers, and I was like, that would totally happen. Like that would totally happen in the NFL. Like you would think that a linebacker like Jack Campbell would be on his own accord because he's not an edge rusher, but because of the way that it's structured, he will be lumped in with edge rushers. That's basically the way it was reinforced, and that's why the discussion about his option is on the table because do you want to wait for his option to be an exorbitant amount, or do you want to sign him to a deal? And that's kind of what the dilemma right now is. And Brad Holmes is going to try to work on it because obviously we heard Brad Holmes talk, and he said this year that he skipped the owners' meetings, 100% focus on the draft board. 9 selections heading into Pittsburgh for the NFL draft. Fifth-year options, like we said, not picked up as of now. With Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, trade calls typically start now, but no significant movement yet. Last week we talked about it on this very podcast, and we talked about trading up, and we hear people mentioning that the Cowboys might trade up to the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns pick at 6 looks like it could be potentially be had, but obviously the Cowboys have another first round pick. So it's going to be very interesting at this draft. I think this is one of the most wild drafts because if I've heard multiple different people say that this draft is where you throw out the positional value chart that a lot of people love to use as their crutch. Remember when the Lions drafted Gibbs and Campbell, people were like, positional value, that's terrible. It's like, nah, they were kind of were the best players in the draft at that position, and that's what you're trying to do. And that was another thing that Brad Holmes talked about was best player available versus need. And he says needs change annually. Elite talent is permanent. What you may not seem like an immediate need right now might not be the case next year. And I agree with this philosophy to a T. I don't know about you, James, but to me, this seems like this is not something that I want to like sit here and cry about. Oh, you could have a player offensive tackle like we talked about last week who is the 5th best offensive tackle, or you could have the 2nd best edge rusher. Who are you choosing? Like, who are you choosing? You're probably going to choose the 2nd best edge rusher, not the 5th best tackle. Oh,
Should be good there. It said my internet cut out for a second, but no, I was uh, going off of your point there. I think I pretty much heard everything you said, but yeah, I mean, this can be a true test of the best player available, just because in theory you're not in a position where there's exactly what's going to be there. There could be a number of different positions that are graded out somewhat similarly. Um, at the same time, and I've heard people talk about this, I do think maybe sometimes we go a little, maybe a little too literal with it, because I still think if there was like a quarterback or a running back that they had graded super high, they still probably wouldn't take it. But
yeah.
But they are with this certain pick or the specific pick at 17. I do think you basically just rank it off who is your best prospect, because you could have 2 or 3 tackles that are in equation. You could have, the top safety or 2 on the board. You could have a corner that you view as the best or second best corner. You could have the top guard available. You could have the top tight end, maybe. So, what is the position out of all of those and the player that just makes the most sense? And I go back and forth on this almost every day, just because I can almost be convinced on a number of different things. I still, more than in the back of my head throughout this entire process, I still go back to at least offensive line, just because one, Brad Holmes's comments at the start of this offseason about, and uh, don't quote me exactly on it, but saying that they really wanted to invest in the offensive line. Now I think they certainly have done that at least to this point in the offseason. Really, the only big in terms of years and money free agency guy they've put an investment towards with Cade Mays. So you get your big center upgrade there. Outside of that, at least now, they don't. They're not in a. I'd argue they're in a similar spot. I think Larry Borum at right tackle and Sewell at left tackle is just as good, if not better, than year 13 Decker at left tackle and Sewell at right tackle. But I still think they want to have more impact to that. So using a first round pick on another offensive lineman, probably a tackle, or if it's just Vanga at guard, who you just think is amazing, and you're getting a premium piece there. To me, that still adds up the most. Now, at the same time, when I'm thinking about this, I think, how many times on this show have I basically said this offense is incredible and they could probably do, even last year they ranked 5th, and they did get a center upgrade. So really, I'd be pretty shocked if they're any worse than top 5 again in offense. So, and they've already, like I said, the one big free agency investment they've made was into center. I think most people would agree the offense is, pretty unquestionably a top 5 type offense. So don't they kind of need to spend a bigger resource on the defense? Because to this point, they basically, you have DJ Wanham, okay, but you lost Al-Quadin Muhammad and Roy Lopez. You lost Anzalone. I think their secondary is in pretty good position, but they do have both the safeties kind of a little bit in question, and then the corners both coming off years where you hoped Arnold and Reed would have played better. So, really, it's almost like if you just in a vacuum, I didn't know anything who the prospects were, who's going to be at 17, and you just dropped me down from Mars and were like, who are the Lions going to take in the first round? I'd be like, they're for sure going to take a defensive player. But I don't know that there's one there that just throughout this whole process, there really hasn't been a defensive player where I'm just like, that really stands out, and he's a great value there. And like, there could be one, like it wouldn't be shocking to me if they love, Mesidor or Falk or one of the safeties, or like you said, McCoy, they could just view him as an incredible talent. And if he's there, we're just going to take him. None of those truly would be shocking to me, but none of them also stand out as like, yeah, they're for sure, this is a great guy that they have to take. And then there's like, it seems to be, I know Brad Holmes, speaking, of this specific topic, he kind of downplayed the tackle class. He was like, yeah, it's kind of the same as ones before, but the tackle class does seem to be kind of a strength of this class. Like, I do think there is going to be probably 6 or 7 tackles taken in the first round, or at least that's what literally every mock draft you look at essentially shows. So a lot of it just adds up to, at 17, they would take an offensive lineman to me.
So the question is, I mean, obviously we heard Brad Holmes say about the tackle position, how it could be just like any other draft. The question would be to Brad Holmes, if I was in front of Brad Holmes, would be, okay, what makes this class the same as every other class? Is there certain players that you believe that are 2 or 3 notches ahead and there's only 2 or 3? Or do you think that there's 4 or 5 that could potentially start, but there's no Penei Sewell? Which if there's no Sewell, there's no Sewell. I mean, I did a stat I think it was Saturday, where I mentioned that, since 2002, okay, there's been 5 tackles that have got under 15 pressures or less in, I think, 50% of snaps. Brian O'Neill was one from the Vikings.
As rookies, you're saying?
Yeah, as rookies, yes. Because I wanted to go as I really wanted to just see as rookies what they did. Because I know that last year's rookies and the year after's rookies, they weren't that great. So I went back and I said, look, let's see where we gotta go. And I went back, and I'm trying to find it right now, but it was Larry Borum was up there of all people. I think he was 4th, if I'm getting it correctly. Let me see. I got it right here. But Larry Bourne was fourth. Sewell was first. Jermaine Illuminor was number one. It was just insane that, like, look, I know a lot of people are worried about tackle, and my thing about tackle has always been and always will be for next week. If they take a tackle, I'm gonna say it the same as I said it the whole time that we've been doing this draft prep. You can't really expect a lot out of them. You really can't. I mean, these rookie tackles, they're just not ready. I'm trying to look for the statistic, but it's somewhere. But when I find it, I'll let you know. But I just, when you look at these guys, like, go down the line, like they struggle mightily in their first year, and then some don't even in the second year don't even turn out to be. It takes like 3 or 4 years. Now we got lucky with Detroit with Sewell. Like, there's not many Penei Sewells out there. Like, I was laughing because they were talking about Meloga, they were talking about Spencer Fanu, and the one thing that they were saying was, there's very few true right tackles. Spencer Fano might be a right tackle. Caleb Lamo might be a right tackle. This is all projection, and there's a lot of teams that need offensive linemen. So what gets hyped up the most is going to be offensive linemen because teams need them, and that's why they're going to try to sell intrigue. But if you have a player like, I did a quick mock draft, Jermoot McCoy was on the board. I don't know, man. That's one pick I'd be like, okay, we'll sit here and we'll try to talk it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But yeah,
I really don't know on the defensive guys. All of them seem to have, like, none of the defensive linemen are. Most of the mock drafts I'm seeing now actually are moving a lot of these guys like Mesidor and Falk and Parker like to the late 20s, and it just kind of seems to fit the mood of kind of what I'm saying, and that there's not a lot of these. Actually, the DBs now are all the ones that to be honest, the guys that I'm most interested in are the safeties. Those are the guys that I'm like Thieneman. I'm almost 100% convinced the Vikings are going to take Thieneman right
yeah,
after the Lions. And I'm just like, I feel like this guy's going to be really, really good. You can never have enough guys like that, especially it might have been one of the other Lion shows, but because I was kind of seeing the same thing. He kind of reminds me a lot of Branch. Like, he is really versatile. So
yeah,
I'd have no problem finding a role for him as a rookie and feeling
yep.
like it's an impactful guy that you're taking. And I don't doubt that Brad Holmes would make a move like that if he views that player like he's like just as good as Brian Branch. I have no doubt he probably thinks highly of that player. So
That's why we went into the whole the Brad Holmes speaks thing, and to go back to my point about the statistics. Since 2002, there's only been 5 tackles that had less than 15 TPS pressures with rookies. Andrew Thomas was number 1. Larmy Tunzel was number 2. Sewell and Illuminor were at 11. Larry Borum with 12. Isn't that nuts and crazy? And Brian O'Neill at 15. So right at the edge. And you look at the last couple drafts, I mean, these players in true pass sets, which TPS is true pass sets, they're at like 30, 40 pressures. It's insane. Especially what's a kid from Washington? Forget his name. It's escaping me, but he was drafted last year. He was terrible, and so was Will
I mean,
Campbell
Will
for the Patriots.
Campbell was like the most criticized player in the Super Bowl. Now, granted, they got to the Super Bowl, but
Well, Will Campbell, I mean, they basically got there on
I mean, their offensive line was horrible.
they got there on dumb luck, to be honest. I mean, if you
Yeah,
want to talk about luck, I mean, you get to play Jared Stidham in the AFC
yeah,
Championship game. Like,
really.
there's
Yeah.
nothing any more lucky than that. You got anything left to say? I know I cut you off, but I just wanted to give that stat out there because
Yeah, no,
I know
I mean, I don't think I think overall there wasn't one point that I do have with Brad Holmes, and maybe it's just because Dan Campbell is almost like the opposite, even though I think maybe even he's getting a little bit different now. But I think Brad Holmes is pretty, not that he's not forthcoming or that he's like dishonest, but I don't really think he gives much away in this specific
No.
press conference. I think he did actually say quite a lot in the uh, one he did with the I don't know if it was the Lions Collective that he sat down with, and
Yeah.
I thought that session he did was actually pretty good. I thought he said more than he would. I guess if I'm viewing that as like a pre-draft press conference, I thought he said like that one was infinitely more interesting
Yeah.
than this one. But I think I think he kind of played it close to the vest and didn't say anything that earth-shattering. And now he, the next time we'll hear from him, they'll have a first round pick at least. I think that's how they'll do it. But
Yeah.
this is, man, I don't know. It's, there's only so much you can say. I'm almost mock draft to death, even though I'm excited to do this one later today.
Yep.
But it's like, man, we're a week away now, and it's what player are they really convicted on? Because we can talk about it forever, but there's they're going to have their board of players, and I do think that, and I've talked about how between the position or the skill guys, there's only going to be one quarterback, obviously, unless someone trades up for Simpson, which I guess wouldn't be insane.
It wouldn't be insane.
Based off how some people are talking about it, but you're still going to have 2 or 3 wide receivers. You might have the wide receiver or the tight end go. You're definitely going to have the running back go. They should really, even at 17, get, assuming they weren't going to take one of those skill position guys, for sure a top 10 player on their board. And then it just comes down to there's got to be 1 or 2 guys on there that they're probably a little higher on than other players, to where they probably are getting a guy that's the top 5 on their board. So but it's really hard to say which one it is. Like I said, I do think, I think they'll like an offensive lineman enough to where the value will add up enough, unless they're just blown away by a defensive player, which I've said that would be the most exciting for me, at least in my position as a fan, because as I've talked about, I just think the offense is in good position. Even if they had to start Larry Borum, like, I'm good with that. I think they'd still be as good or better on offense than they were last year. And if I'm adding a impactful first round defensive player, at least in the immediate needs, that's what I kind of view they need. But I'll throw in the caveat, though, still, that's where all this is still kind of tough to say, because you can't just throw away a first round pick on, I need, like, really, in all reality, like, who cares what the immediate impact is of 2026? Like, if the draft pick stinks, and I think Brad Holmes laid this out pretty well in this in his interview session, of you can pick a defensive player and now that doesn't fill the hole, and now you got nothing out of that, and then you still need what you thought your other need was. So you really do just need to get the player that you're most convicted on and you feel can be the most successful player for you. Maybe not in the now. You hope it's the best of both worlds, but man, it can be tricky you can get in trouble fast by just drafting for a need, and now you still need both of those things when the player doesn't pan out.
That's why we're gonna do the top Lions fits. That's why we're gonna do it, because that's people got to know. Like, I do this every year, and to me, I pick players that I think would be fits, and there's obviously more players that could be fits, but these are just like the top 5, the top 10. I didn't do top 10 this year; I did top 5 because I really wanted to get a good grip on some of these players. But that's what we're gonna do. And before we get to Evan says, if we draft the left tackle, I want a left guard in round 2 to offset rookie struggles. If we move Sewell and draft right tackle, I'm fine with Mahogany, Frazier, and Scruggs to compete for left guard. My only conundrum with that is I think Larry Borum has the potential to start and be good potentially, and I think that you got to figure that into the equation as well. And he does say the mock fatigue is real, but we will press on and we will continue to do the mock. I think we'll do this.
I'm so excited for this one.
We have to do it. So This is next. Okay, so this is the Lions. Top Lions fits. So if we go top Lions fits, let's go to quarterback and running back. You look at quarterback and running back for Detroit, like these are fits for Detroit. At quarterback, you got Cole Payton from North Dakota State, Luke Altmaier from Illinois, who's projected as a seventh at UDFA. All four of these guys are seventh rounder to UDFAs. Okay. Now, the one guy that really does get to me is Joey Aguilar. I think he has a really good chance to be pretty good with any team he's with. People kept bringing up Hendon Hooker when I posted the graphic. It's not Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker was an entirely different passer. Joey Aguilar can rip it. The only problem with Joey Aguilar, and this is probably why it's a better fit for him to be in Detroit, is the quarterback that he's with, Jared Goff. I think he could learn a little bit of the stuff from Jared Goff because he has a cannon for an arm. He just can't. He's not good with the ball placement yet, and that's kind of why he went to Tennessee. And he went to Tennessee and did pretty well, but Tennessee kind of fell off because they didn't have some of their players, and he made Chris Braswell look good. But at running back, I have Jadarian Price, Katron Allen, Jonah Coleman, Jamari Price, and Roman Hemby. And the simple thing to this, James, here is with these running backs, there's one quality that stands between all of them. They're good against contact. They're really good in the gap run scheme. And the third thing is, especially for Jamari Price, that guy had more yards after contact than anybody I've ever seen in my entire life. I think it was like 5.6 yards per after contact. The guy's a freak, and he's really agile. And Dane Brugler talked about it on his mock draft. I think he had Jamari Price going to Detroit, ironically. But do you see a quarterback? Do you see a running back that you would be willing to invest capital in, draft capital in?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I am very intrigued with the North Dakota State quarterback. If I did think he was great, I probably would use one. You do have 2 4th-round picks and 2 5th-round picks, but I'm not crazy, honestly, about taking a quarterback or a running back in the 4th or 5th round. I think taking a running back in this draft makes a lot of sense, but I do almost view it as constricting it to one of the last couple of rounds just because I think you can get a guy. It's not really a huge need because, one, you're now left with Isaiah Pacheco because your backup running back didn't want 5 to 10 carries a game. So, that is the role for the guy. And you do have someone in Pacheco that could easily give you 4 or 5 plus carries. So it is a pretty small role, at least this year. I do think it's worthwhile getting another guy into the mix, and maybe they do beat out Pacheco or just offer something different. But I'm not crazy about picking one in the 4th or 5th round.
Because the question is simple. I mean, obviously, when you look at quarterback and running back, you don't think those are pressing needs for Detroit. Obviously, Jared Goff, Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. You have running back with Pacheco, Gibbs. I mean, there's obviously a need for a third running back, but you're not going to divest capital like Jardarian Price, who I'd have as a 2nd or 3rd round pick, because, I mean, it just doesn't make much sense. But a guy like Jamari Price, Roman Hemby, Jonah Coleman, maybe if those guys, we talked about it earlier in the podcast about what Brad Holmes values. It's BPA, which is best player available, more than need, because needs change annually and elite talent is permanent. So as we go through the list, that's something that we got to kind of look at. Like, he's going to go BPA, and it doesn't matter who it is, what position it is. I mean, God, as long as he doesn't do what Bob Quinn did that one year, where he drafted a long snapper. You remember that? That was probably the most Lions moment of a draft I've ever seen in my entire life. Guy drafts a long snapper, which no one had on their board. No, not 1% on the board. All right, going on to the wide receivers and tight ends. I know this will interest a couple people. It probably will. But you look at Malachi Fields, if you want a 2nd or 3rd round guy, really intriguing. He's a contested catch guy. Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State. The reason I say him is literally when they did there was a couple comps that came towards St. Brown, and one came towards J-Mo, and the way that he blocks with the uh, without the ball. That's a guy that I would say, okay, kind of has a Lions factor to
Yeah.
him. Chris Brazell from Tennessee, which he could be an interesting option. The one thing I will say about Chris Brazell is, as a huge Tennessee fan, there's no one that could tap the there's no one that can make sideline catches like him. There's no one that can make sideline catches like him. He's absolutely elite with that. So his footwork and talent is pretty imperative. Uh, Skylar Bell, another kid. He's a tall, lanky kid, but he has great hands. That's what they said. You know, a lot of people are saying. And Malik Benson, I think he's from Lansing, to be honest. He's very fast, and he's another guy that loves to block. And every one of these wide receivers you see right here was really good in the run game. So that's kind of why I have them there. And then we go to the tight end angle. Nate Bortkitcher, or whatever his name is. He's one of the best pass blocking tight ends in a long time. I heard Dane Brugler on the podcast talk about this kid as like he could be like, if his pass catching improves, he can be like an elite tight end in the NFL. Eli Radon, another guy who could block. Marlon Klein is a guy who could obviously block Michigan. Dalen Bentley, the guy right there, the Lions had him on a visit, and we know how the Lions operate with the visits. They usually draft those guys, and Dalen Bentley was on a visit, so he's going to be a fourth or fifth round pick per Brugler and a couple other people. So that's kind of where I go with that. And then your boy Tanner Kozel at the end, the sixth or seventh round is projected that he's going to go. I don't know. The thing about Kozel, and you love Kozel, I know you do, but he's kind of like your wide receiver. He'd be a wide receiver in your offense, and would it make sense here in Detroit? Yes, because you look at Conklin, you look at Laporta, like he'd be your third tight end, potentially could be your fourth, or fifth wide receiver option if you wanted to get big people on the field. That could be interesting, but out of wide receiver and tight end, do you see anybody getting drafted early? Like I don't see anybody getting drafted early at wide receiver or tight end, especially tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of view it similarly as the last couple position groups, unless you're just, think a guy's just unbelievable. I mean, you get into the fourth and fifth round, if you think there's someone that's just of great value there, I can get behind a tight end, but yeah, probably not. These would all be rounds still, fourth or fifth round. That skill position guys, I'd be surprised if they took.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, when you go through this list, I mean, Malik Benson is a guy who could potentially be a sleeper kind of guy. Skylar Bell, Brazel. We know that they have a couple fourth or fifth round picks, so those could be potentially in the range. Marlon Klein could be in the range. Dalen Bentley could be in the range. So if they feel like they have a good read on a player, they're going to take them. And obviously, we go back to the Bible, BPA, for Brad Holmes and the company. They really care about BPA. So when you go back to BPA, that's kind of where you land. And it's like when we do the live mock draft, this is what we're gonna have to look at. We're gonna have to be like, okay, what is the best player available, and does he really fit the need of the Lions? Because I think that's the major thing. Like, you talked about it earlier about if best player available comes up and it's a running back, are you gonna take a running back? Probably not, unless you feel like you could potentially have like a Sonic and Knuckles duo for 4 years, because I mean, unless they're first round pick, they don't get a 5th-year option. So you're going to get 4 years minimum from every player, but it's interesting. So I don't know, man. I look at this and this list and I go, there's only 2 people that I really think that could be someone that I would be interested in, and the kid from A&M, the Texas A&M tight end. I think he could fit in really nice with this Lions team. Brennan Thompson, but we don't have a 3rd round pick, and I mean, there's mock drafts where I've seen that were 7 mock drafts where he was going 3rd round, early 3rd round, late 2nd. So he probably won't be there, but he is you watch him at Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State was not fun to watch at all. Actually, they were one of the most boring teams in college football, but he's very St. Brown-esque. Now we go on to another position, which is I would say isn't the top of need, but we should look at it to see if there is players available that we could potentially look at. You go look at this guy. This list right here. Jake Slaughter obviously is the number one option at center. This he's going to be good. Sam Height, the kid from Kansas State, who if you want to look at metrics and the way that he scores and the way he does his gap blocking and pass blocking and run blocking, he's good. And then you look at these guys like at the bottom right here. Matt Golban, he could potentially play guard too. So that keep that in mind. Jaeger Burton could play guard too. So you keep that in mind. Pat Coogan from Indiana. They say his arms are too short. I don't know. I don't know if his arms are too short. I'm not gonna go check them, but that's what they say. But he's a veteran. I think he'd be interesting. But those two guys at the bottom, James, I mean, Burton and Golban, and you know how much I've liked Golban, so that ain't no shock. But Burton is another guy who plays guards because here's what if you're gonna draft a lineman and he's a backup lineman, you got to draft him for position flexibility. I thought Miles Frazier last year was a great example of that. He played tackle too, so he could do both of those. So I look at center, and I don't think it's a top need. Like I don't think they're gonna go get Slaughter, or Hecht, but I do look at a guy like Golban and Burton and Cogan as three guys that could potentially be there for Detroit to pick if they need. And I mean, obviously they have guards like Scruggs and Mahogany, but do you see them taking a center at this point in time?
I could. I mean, if there is really anyone
make the case, yes,
that they view as worth of taking, I mean, that's a position that I think even with them trading for Juice Scruggs shows how much they value any sort of playing experience at center is, because I think he is probably their backup center right now. And, you don't have him for, I don't think, super long term. And you do have Cade Mays for the next at least couple of years, if not 3 years. But, you could, I think it would, ideally, I'd love to get someone in that could start learning the position because it's not and the Lions coaches, especially Dan Campbell, he's talked about how difficult of a position it is. So if you can get a young player in there that you have any sort of belief in that can develop into a good player, I mean, I'd love to get a center of the future type guy in there. Now, having said that, it's not like Cade Mays is super old, although I mean that's a brutal position. Maybe it is a position that 30 is closer to the end of your career than a lot of other positions. But I just think it's a really valuable, unique position. So if you can get someone that you have belief in, and especially in those rounds that you mentioned, I mean, most of them are, fourth round and beyond.
yeah.
I think the position warrants it if you think the guy has some ability.
Center position is always needed, in my opinion. And you look at the way Graham Glasgow transitioned to center. I mean, you do need centers on the roster. You don't carry them if they're just a center. You carry them if they're a guard and a center, like Glasgow. We carry Agwakon, but I wasn't a fan of that either. But the center market right here is interesting because obviously you look at Kogan and Burton and Golban; those guys could be had late. So that's kind of like where I look at Detroit looking to get a center. Now let's get on to the real stuff because there's a lot of people that are going to be talking about tackle and guard and linebacker and edge and safety and cornerback. Let's talk about tackle and guard. Obviously, Monroe Freeling right there. Now I will. James said this, so I want to give full disclosure. I don't think Spencer Fenno will be there. I don't think Malauga will be there. So if Malauga's not there, Fenno is not there, these are your best options right here. Monroe Freeling, Blake Miller, Kayla Lamo, Max Eichenor, who, interestingly enough, I think it was a former PFF guy mocked him in the first round to Detroit. and Markel Bell. Now the people are gonna like go like, Mark, who the hell is Markel Bell?
Yeah.
Markel Bell was on the opposite side of Melowaga, right tackle. He's going to be a right tackle in the NFL. He's athletic. He's going to take a year, or he's going to take a year to develop. Now, if you do draft the kid from Arizona State, he's also going to take a year to develop. And I mean, I was listening to some people say Lamo was going to take a year to develop into a really nice player. So again, Larry Borum was a great kind of in the middle kind of guy where if you have to start him, you can. If you feel like the guy that you got isn't ready to play, you still got a tackle to go out on opening day. But yeah, I look at the tackle and I go, I know James loves Monroe Freeling, so he's number one. Obviously, the first top three guys will be in the first round. But if you do want to go in the third round or fourth round, Markel Bell should be there, and Ehan Anchor or whatever his name is, he should be there as well. He should be there at least at the first round, maybe the second round. But I see him creeping up draft boards now too. So again, it'll be interesting. That's kind of why I say what I said when you said about Brad Holmes saying it's like any other draft. I kind of view it the similar way. Oh God, tackle right here. Yeah, tackle right here. I look at it the same way. Like you look at a guy like Blake Miller, Monroe Freeling, Fano, Malawaga. Okay, those are four players. So how many years does a draft have four tackles that could be available? A lot. It's usually the typical number. Now, if we go deeper in the draft, I mean, you kind of like. I'm not interested in the kid from Northwestern. I'm not really interested in him.
I mean, you hate Caden Proctor, but he could go in the top 10. That's another. I mean, just to the point of the class, like some people.
If they drafted Caden Proctor, I'd be ready to puke. I really would.
I'm just saying, to the point of the class might be pretty good. I mean, there could be 6 or 7 guys going in the first round.
Did you hear what someone said about Caden Proctor? Now it was an anonymous source from, I don't know where it was. I think it was either The Athletic or someone. Basically said like, and Daniel Jeremiah was getting asked about Caden Proctor a lot, and he was like, "I'm gonna try to be nice." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like Daniel Jeremiah don't say nothing mean, but there was a quote from The Athletic, and one of the quotes was that he might eat himself out of the league. So that's something that really doesn't seem like a Dan Campbell type player, a Brad Holmes type player. I mean, Dan Campbell still could play right now. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to take his tackle eating himself out of the league like Zion Williamson. So, tackle is a big one. If it's there, it's there. I like Blake Miller. Honestly, I love Blake Miller. So, if he's there, I like Blake Miller over Lemieux. Monroe Freeling is probably the way the mock drafts have been going. I don't know if you've been keeping track of the mock drafts, James, but he keeps creeping up the board. Like people are saying he's going to go in the top 10. Some are saying he's top 12.
For a little bit now. I mean, I don't know when exactly it was, but 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever the first person had him going 6 overall to the Browns, really, ever since then, I've kind of viewed it as just kind of a toss-up if he'll be there.
It's kind of what it is, a toss-up. But we go to let's go to the guards. The guards, Vega Ione. This kid, man, he is your quintessential Detroit Lion, just a total mauler. And I love the way that he plays the game. Now, people say he's a little slow, but when you play like he does, you could be a little bit slow. Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon. He's going to be a second-round pick. Kalen Rutledge, a second and a third-round pick. Billy Sharoof, a third and fourth-round pick. And the most interesting name, and I read about him, and I've read a lot of stuff about Kobe Baines. He looks like he could legitimately be a player, and if you can get a guard in the 6th and 7th round, it turns out to be a starter, you hit the lottery. And I think a lot of people are, even Dane Brugler said in his The Beast, he said, like, the kid's good. He just needs to be refined. And I think any guy you take, whether you take a center, whether you take a tackle or a guard, I think that having a guy like Hank Fraley as your offensive line coach is a huge step in the right direction for any development of a young player. So that's kind of where I lean on that, James. If I mean, a guy like Kobe Baines, they say that his problem with him is he's a little bit he stands too upright or the technical language. Like, okay, fine, but if I have a offensive line coach like Fraley or Dante Scarnecchi and with the Patriots back in the day, I mean you love it. Even what's it? The guy in Philly who retired this year?
Yeah, I don't know his name, but
Forget his name, but he again,
he's
if
incredible.
he does, if you take an offensive lineman and you know that he has a little bit of issues, you feel better if you have those offensive lineman coaches. It's just kind of the way it goes. So
For sure.
that's kind of where do you see tackle and guard? Like, are you still on? Do you think it's going to be a first round pick for tackle? Do you think guards on table? I think guards on table, to be honest. But
I mean, I think guards on the table. It is kind of like Ione is the only first round guy to me. I know some people have some have put the Oregon kid or some of the others at the. I've seen some actually people throw another guard late in that first round, but for the Lions point of view, it's really if Ione's there, I'd love it. He's probably the one guy this whole process that I've just liked more than any player. I know that's a position amongst Lions fans that some people say, "Oh no, we have Mahogany," or "I think Frazier is going to be great," or I viewed left guard from the day one of offseason as a position that you could easily upgrade on, and then how amazing for all the people that love Mahogany, how much does the guard position elevate if now you're talking about Mahogany? And by the way, breaking news, I think the Tigers just scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning. Absolutely crazy game. They entered the 9th inning down 9-7. They win 10-9 after blowing a 6-1 lead, I think originally.
What a crazy game that is, man.
Yeah, what an absolute. I mean, so I had that pulled up on my thing, and then it showed up. The Tigers were down 9-7 with 2 outs in the 9th. Riley Green got a 2-out, 2-run double to make it 9-9. And then
you're missing the most important part. That includes the umpire who had the shits.
Yeah, so they basically blew the game because they allowed a 6-run 7th inning because the umpire possibly crapped his pants. Dude, I don't know. No. He had to leave, and there was like a 30-minute delay, and then it led right into basically a simultaneous rain delay right after we gave up a home run.
The funniest thing about it was Benetti. Okay, he's running awkwardly. You know why he's running awkwardly, bro? Come on,
he sprints to the dugout during the middle of the game. That can't be good.
No. It's never good when you're sprinting towards the bathroom, but.
Yeah, sorry, that was a
what a win for the Tigers. So
but hey, at least the Tigers, big win again for the 6 in a row for the Tigers.
Man,
no, I think Ione is incredible. I really would be thrilled if the Lions took him. See, there's someone that says the Oregon kid's his left guard number 1. So, I mean, Ione is going to definitely be the first guard taken. I'm not opposed to your point. I'm not opposed to really any. I just talked about I would be fine with them taking a center. If there's an offensive lineman that they like, I've already talked about earlier, I do think they're going to take a tackle in the first round. I think Hank Fraley is a wonderful offensive line coach. I think Tate Ratledge had a great rookie year. I think they signed a center in Cade Mays, who they think is a big time fit for them. I think he's going to be great for the Lions. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about the offensive line going into next year. And as I talked about to lead the show, I feel like they made a point to really want to improve the offensive line, and just getting Cade Mays out of it, while I do view that as a huge upgrade, I just think that they're taking another offensive lineman in the first round. That kind of almost solidifies it and puts them in a position to where I mean, they basically just overhauled their weakness on the offensive line, and now you're talking about basically 4+ positions being solidified. And then if Mahogany or Frazier or either of these guys are legit, then you're back to having like the best offensive line again. So I do think offensive line's a huge position, obviously, to watch on this draft. And um, do they love Blake Miller? He'll probably be there. If they don't, if it is, I would make the case that it's like you're probably not getting the Miami tackle Maui Noah. You're saying we're probably not getting Fano, which you're probably right. To me, Freeling might be that last higher level. If there is a cutoff point, it might be Monroe Freeling, and then it's just, do you love one of the other guys or not? But yeah,
So
certainly
strictly hypothetical. Freeling's off the board, Fano's off the board, Malawaga's off the board. Let's say you get a trade from.
In that scenario, I would like to not go.
Would you like to trade down? Because that's kind of where if you're going, yeah. Because if you can gain a 3rd round pick out of it, okay, I'm good with it. Like if someone needs a certain player, like if someone called and at 17 they were like, look, I'm taking Dylan Thineman. I know Minnesota wants him. I know you're in Minnesota's division.
That's a great scenario because I really think Minnesota wants that guy.
Exactly. So at that point in time, I'd be like, okay, so I can get a 3rd round pick. I get to screw Minnesota in the process with their no GM having ass. And I can go take.
Yeah, that is hilarious. I don't have a GM for this draft.
It's so freaking hilarious. The Vikings they're a funny one. But Evan said in the comments, says Mahogany and Frazier were considered to be depth pieces with starter upside pre-draft. I want us to improve the left guard this year. Our offensive.
I was with you. I was hoping they'd sign like one of the
and they still can. That's the thing. Like a Joel Bitonio, if they can get Joel Bitonio, that'd be great. That's my opinion. That's kind of where I'm leaning. So obviously, offensive line is a huge sticking point, tackle, guard, whatever you're going to do. But these are the guys that I kind of look at. And I mean, a guy like Rutledge would be a great one, in my opinion. Mark,
hilarious if our guards were Rutledge and Ratledge. I know I've said that before, but I mean,
that's hilarious. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. I was like, the kid, Billy Struth, I think that kid, Struth or whatever, that kid's he's got some starter upside. And even Dane Brugler said like he would have been a top 2-round draft pick if he would have stayed healthy. His major thing was he wasn't healthy his last year, and he was good with Jeremiah Love, but people get scared about some of his knee issues or whatever the case may be. But the way I look at it, and I think Brad Holmes said something about this in the draft prep or the draft press conference. He said, look, these players are coming out older because of NIL. So you kind of have to expect they're going to have a little bit of wear and tear. So, and it doesn't really behoove him if he has to take an older player. So that it leaves Akeem Mesidor on the board, to be honest. All right, let's go to edge and linebacker because this is one that, there was someone in the comments who said that they want, Damon. He says, I really want to find a gem at linebacker like Rodrigo, but a full-fledged starter. I got news for you. You can. Linebackers, let's go. If you want a guy who could potentially be that kind of Rodrigo type, that kid from Buffalo looks pretty good. And Tareen York from Texas A&M is 4th through 7th. And so that's a guy who could potentially be that guy. But I don't think they're going to take a linebacker in the first 2 rounds. So I'm just going to leave it out there. But I put Anthony Hill up there because he is the quintessential. If you were to prototype and put a player on a board that looks like is and looks and feels like a Detroit Lion, that's him. He's a coach's kid. He's a captain at Texas. Like he wore the green dot at Texas, which is pretty good. And he is a player that he loves to hit people. And I listened to an interview with him on the radio on the Sirius XM. He seems like such a good kid too. So that's why I kind of leave him there because Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, that would be someone that they would be head and heels over. Harold Perkins I put at the end because he is a linebacker, but he is like an edge rusher, and he's kind of your quintessential. You don't know what the hell you're going to get from him, so that could be it there. And if you look at the edge position, Mesidor, Parker, Jackus, I took Kendrick Falk off because there's some things I don't like, but I like these guys. These 5 that I have right here, especially, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think one of the steals of the draft is going to be Caden Curry, the kid from Ohio State. Good against the run, good against the pass. If you can get a guy like him in the 5th or 4th round, holy crap, that's going to be great. Especially with him Hutch on the other side, that'd be great for them. So
I love it. Well, I gotta throw a curveball at you. We are an hour into this. Do you want to go into the mock draft and we can reference the last like the defensive positions as we go? Just
yeah,
as,
let's just go through the safeties and cornerbacks first.
Okay,
Obviously, yeah, we got all these guys that we've mentioned them.
Ooh, I like
Andre
these,
Fuller, guy you have, but we'll get into the mock draft because that is going to take some time. We don't really want to be leaving people things. So let's go to the live mock draft. You're right. We went a little long. We went a little long on the Brett Holmes conversation, but it is what it is. I'll post the rest on social media so people can get a rest. Get used to it. All right, so let's start to our mock draft. So we are going to be using stick to the model. Now there are new mock draft. We used Pro Football Focus last one, okay?
I think you gotta use a different one, honestly. Even if it was great, like just for variety's sake, like you might as well do a different one.
So we'll do this full 7 rounds here in this draft. We'll do the speed, instant randomness. No, let's not do that. Let's keep it realistic. We'll just do the Lions, obviously. That's clearly what. All right, let's go and let's. Any last words before we start this mock drafts, Mr. James?
I'm excited for it.
I knew you were excited for it because we were trying so hard to get that positional fits down. But I'll make we were going through a little bit too long, so we had to cut the safeties and cornerbacks out. But I showed you the safeties and cornerbacks, so we'll reference that if we get to that point in this mock draft. That's what we're gonna do.
Love it.
All right. Let's see. So we're gonna start the draft. Oh yeah, start. Okay, we're gonna get there.
Right, wow, McCoy went. Okay, so that
was a trade.
Let's see who went. Oh wow, Fano went. So you were right that he. Lemon. Okay. Oh wow, Vega went.
Oh, Ione went to the Bengals. That doesn't seem like a Bengals pick to me, to be honest. But
hey, but did the Dolphins stay at? What did the Dolphins do? Did they?
They moved up to 2.
They moved up to Okay.
Okay, so in this mock draft, they moved 2. Panthers moved to 3. The Cowboys moved up to 4. Holy crap! There's a lot of trades in this one.
Okay.
All right, this kind of keeps it here. So here's who we got on the board. We got Monroe Freeling on the board. We got Caden Proctor on the board. We got Dylan Thinneman on the board. We have Denzel Boston, Caleb LeBeau.
I feel like this.
So
I feel like it fell to us pretty nicely here, in my opinion.
All right, so we look at Mr. Monroe Freeling. He's ranked at number 17. The metrics 4.93. Let's check his RAS for. Where is it? Where is the RAS? Oh, he's an elite athlete. So that kind of fits the whole moniker of what Brett Holmes likes to do. So, James, I don't really think we have to think about this one, to be honest.
I agree, honestly. I think he's one of the guys for me. I could be wrong on this. I'm not against Blake Miller, but I view Monroe Freeling, Maui Noah, and Fano as the more upper echelon type guys, to where if either of them on the board, I just view as a no-brainer for the Lions to select.
Okay, so question: we have 6 trade offers.
Okay.
And so these are the trade offers right here. I'll put them on the board. You have the Cardinals. They'll give you a 34th pick, an 85th pick. Buffalo wants to give you a future pick. You can go to hell, Buffalo. Um, Chicago wants to trade with you. I don't really want to trade with Chicago. Kansas City, you get 25 and 57. I mean, 29 and 40. And then Minnesota wants to trade you a future pick. And then Philadelphia. You want to trade or no?
Man, I mean, what's Minnesota? Just move one down, and I mean, we fleeced Minnesota a bunch of times with Brad Holmes. They don't have a
You get
GM now.
18. You get 18 in the future.
I mean, I say we do that, honestly. I don't want to go crazy with trades, but I feel like that could be realistic. Maybe
Yeah.
like Philadelphia wants to trade with us. Maybe like someone really wants Dinneman.
Now, hopefully, when we do this, hopefully,
Freeling's still on the board. I mean, if it's realistic, honestly, like I don't think they're going to take a tackle. I think they would take like a safety or, I think it's worth it regardless.
So we get a 2027 second round pick. So let's act like we're Brad Holmes and let's take it.
Fleece. That's a fleece for us. Yeah.
So we take it. They take Dylan Thineman. So we knew that.
What a win.
We knew that they were going to take Dylan Thineman. We get a second round pick out of the deal. We're gonna draft. Now there's some trades available, but I don't think you really want to keep trading down.
I think it's no brainer to just take.
I don't know why the Chargers didn't trade us that in the first place, but thank you, LA. But we're gonna take Monroe Freeling. That RAS score is just off the charts, and I think that'd be a good one. All right.
Now we have a second round, or we have two second round picks, right?
No, that's a future second round pick.
Future, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Now we are at this point. There is Jacob Rodriguez on the board, inside linebacker. Jackus is on the board. Jadarian Price is on the board. Cornerback Keith Abney, who I put on my board as he was my second cornerback on the board, but I don't think that'd be the best bet, to be honest. So Eli Stovers, Halsey from LSU, Derek Moore, Josiah Trotter. We're getting down the list a little bit. What's your read on this? I mean, R. Mason Thomas is another guy who people have mocked too. Gabe Jackus, let's see what he's kind of like your prototypical Detroit one. And look at that RAS score.
Yep. I mean, we kind of feel like last draft we took the Illinois kid to Detroit.
Yep. Yeah, we did. Yes, we did. Derek Moore. Let's see. Nope. All right. So there are trades on the board. None of them are really. You're gonna get something great. So
D'Angelo Pons got picked too. Where did? He just went like 4 picks ahead. Okay.
Okay. So these are
someone I've kind of been eyeing on this as a new guy. I'm kind of eyeing on the second round. I think that could be a good fit for the Lions if you're.
Zion Young went to 38 for Houston. Caleb Banks, CJ Allen went. Anthony Hill went. Christian Miller went. Malachi Lawrence went. D'Angelo Pons went. Jeremy Bernard went. And then Emmanuel Pregnon, who is the guy that I profiled, he went too. So this is an interesting one, but I don't know, man. I think I mean, there's safety on the board. AJ Halsey, which is a pretty good player too. He's been trending upwards, so
I think right here you could go. I mean, really, I think the Oklahoma or the Illinois edges would make sense, or the Michigan isn't Moore there. I mean, he had, I think, 10 sacks last year for Michigan. I mean, he could be, if you're just talking about, a role that he could fill, I mean, that could be a guy that could get after the passer. He could complement. He could be a good kind of 1-2 punch with DJ Wanham on the opposite end there. I mean, if you do linebacker, certainly I don't think would be out of play in the second round. I mean, it's certainly too with I think some people, we've talked about it, do you pick a linebacker that has some pass rushing juice. I mean, I think even the Moore might be listed as a linebacker, but really linebacker is an intriguing position because you lost Alex Anzalone. So really you could make the case any type of linebacker, if you like him, could be a fit here because you do probably need some more pass coverage skills. But then you also, I've talked about this a lot. I think getting a linebacker, we haven't really had the linebacker that is more of the athletic, get after the quarterback speed guy. It's either been the coverage guy or now Jack Campbell's a little bit of an outlier just because he's a superstar, but he was more in the build of let's get the sure, stop the run, smart, great leader. So, I think you can make the case of edge. You can make the case of linebacker. We pick I think we did pretty great checking the box at tackle round one, which honestly, if we're just playing this out, if the Lions do go tackle round one, I can make the case that really they should just go defense the rest of the draft. And I don't think that'd be crazy. Maybe they take a running back late or something, but they get the tackle they want round one. I mean, who are we kidding? Are they going to keep adding offense? Like, no, they really should. They really should at that point for sure. Probably keep stockpiling defense.
So, should we pick Gabe Jackas or your pick? Let's see.
Let's go with we did him last time. Let's just go with the Oklahoma. I think I've seen. Click on. Let me learn a little bit more about him too. I've only seen him.
Now he's a smaller edge rusher.
So he is kind of like he's maybe a more Al-Quadin Muhammad.
Yeah, he's
than he is the pocket rushing big guy.
It says he gets swallowed by bigger linemen. Injury history. That's a Brad Holmes thing. His pass rush win rate never below 10%. That's incredible. It's pretty good.
I mean, I think it makes. Let's get him. We have the DJ want him. Imagine if we still had Al-Quadin Muhammad. That's basically what it is.
His RAS score isn't that great. He's above average, but when you look at the statistics, I mean, he played in the SEC and did have a pass rush win rate with a pass rush win rate of 14%. That's pretty freaking good in the SEC. So,
you have some complementary pieces on the defensive line. Not everyone needs to be the 6'4", stop the run, set the edge. You need some guys.
Oh, right there. Thomas projects as a day 2 early impact pass rush specialist who simply can't be stopped when he's on. So
I think that if you, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I mean. I'm good with that profile.
I'm consensus.
Yeah,
let's just go with him. That's a good one. All right. Keep going down.
So now we're going all the way to round 4, right?
Yeah, round 4. 118. So we have some guys on the board. Obviously, Billy Schroof is the guy that I profiled. Eli Rendon is on there. A guy that I was going to profile in the cornerback position. Takario Davis is on the board. Where is he? That's on there. Takario Davis is on the board. Keyshawn Elliott, linebacker.
The tight end we talked about from Texas A&M.
Yep. Zywan Harris, who could be a pretty interesting one. Katron Allen's right there. There's some good guys. Let's see. Okay, we got Nadeem Tucker for edge rusher.
Okay.
So he's still on the board.
You were talking about Caden Curry.
Caden Curry's on the board, but we can get him a little bit later.
I was talking about him last one of these.
Yep. Cornerback. Let's see who we got at cornerback. Devin Marshall, we talked about before. Oh, the Jaden Kennedy kid. It could be interesting. Who's at safety right now?
Yeah.
We missed the Bud Clark. Where did Bud Clark go? Bud Clark.
Yeah,
we missed Markel Bell, so we're lucky we got him. So, Bud Clark went 94th to the Miami Dolphins.
What about linebackers?
Let's go. Linebacker. Deontay Lawson. Bryce Botchett, Tyreen York.
Brad Murdoch, you highlighted him.
Yep.
Where did you have him? What rounds did you have him in your graphic?
Had him
4th or 5th round.
Fourth
I
or
mean,
fifth,
that
yeah.
guy, this guy's like, I mean, unbelievable. From a Mac perspective, this guy was, and there's been a lot of good linebackers that come out of the Mac, including Khalil Mack from Buffalo. But this guy would just do everything. This is do-it-all linebacker. I think he would be a pretty intriguing fit for the Lions. I mean, really high IQ, had an insane amount of tackles in his college career, always in the right place at the right time. For being more of like the kind of having the IQ captain, not a freak athlete, but just always in the right position type guy. He had a ton of ball productivity. I mean, I don't know what his stats off the top of my head, but I know he had some interceptions and certainly had the sacks and TFLs. I mean, for him to be even mocked, even in the 4th or 5th round, I think that says a lot about him because he really isn't some crazy athlete or anything like that. But
setting the NCAA career record for forced fumbles while delivering back-to-back seasons as the nation's second leading tackler. Jeez, oh,
I mean, this guy, like every single week, it was like 15 tackles, like strip sack, interception. Like, I mean, incredible productivity and unbelievable IQ type guy. If the Lions liked him, he screams like Lions type guy.
He really does.
He does. He's a lunch pail like underdog.
So, do we think we can get him at 128?
You could possibly, yeah. Honestly,
because if you want to think about
probably
that,
worth chancing.
Yeah, it'd probably be worth chancing.
Yeah.
At 118 though, who would you go?
Who do they have at defensive tackles?
Defensive tackle.
Okay.
There's not many good defensive tackles. I mean, we got to go later in the draft to get to those guys that I think would be.
And who is the best like overall available? They say.
Deontay Corleone, but he doesn't.
That's like of every position.
Yeah, this is a defensive tackle right here.
Who are they? What's like the every position? Like who do they say is the
Michael Trigg, the back? There's 2 tight ends on the board.
Linebacker.
This kid's another one.
Oh, that guy's a crazy athlete. Yeah, I was talking about him last.
He had
a lot of returns for touchdowns.
His RAS score was interesting. Billy Schruth is on the board again. He's on the board.
Okay.
The tight end from Notre Dame is on the board. His RAS score is 9.5. So.
Wow.
There's some good guys.
We could go really with either of those 2 guards or either of the linebackers. I mean, there's an Alabama linebacker up there.
Or you can go Nate Brock.
Or him, yeah. I mean, really, this is a round that I don't. You got your tackle, you got a edge rusher. We kind of want to take a linebacker later on when the value makes more sense. So. Really, this is a round that you could take a tight end. I wouldn't mind taking either of those 2 guards to make the case that you like them, and you have, we picked Ben Barch in free agency, who I think is a good backup, but that's not a long-term guy. So if we don't have Iwusika anymore. We like Miles Frazier, but we still don't 100% know what his role is. Some people will tell you he's more of a tackle. So you could make the case that we could, have a controllable guard in the system.
Cole Payton is on the board too.
Cole Payton in the 4th round.
So
we loved him.
Nadeem Tucker's on the board.
I'm letting you take this one. I think there's a number of different routes you could go.
So which way should I lean? Because there's a couple ways I can lean, but I'm not really. I don't know.
We haven't really. It's not like we've pigeonholed ourselves. So I mean, really, any sort of pick we make here would make sense.
Yeah, so here's what I'm gonna do. Go to Raz. Yeah, none of those guys are really gonna get me. You know what? Here's what we're gonna do. I like Billy Shroof.
I was gonna say one of the guards or the quarterback.
He was team captain 2024, a season-ending MCL sprain, his 7 starts. Brandon Thorne of Bleacher Report graded him at 7.1, compared him to Austin Corbett as a reliable NFL guard who wins technique, leverage, and play strength. I think that's the pick, man. I think we're gonna go guard here.
The Lions take a guard in the 4th. If they took this kid in the 4th round, I'd be totally on board with it.
All right.
And so sorry. I thought I saw Monroe Freeling, and for some reason I was. So who are the picks in between here?
All right. So all right. Let's go. I don't know why.
If we get Red Murdoch or not.
Yeah, he's there. Tarkario Davis. So
I think that makes sense, honestly, especially because we went offense too.
Well, we got the better guard too, and Green Bay picked Cage Casey, so we're on the right track. So
that was a good move by us.
So I think linebacker. There's Keyshawn Elliott, who Arizona State. He's a smart, physical inside linebacker from Arizona State. Projects a starter at the next level despite lacking the flashiness of other linebackers. You look at his RAS score, 8.7. So he's pretty good. He may lack top end speed to match up with NFL caliber receiving backs and tight ends in space. His current consensus is around 300, suggests he's a day 3 projection who could outperform a draft position with a strong pre-draft process. He's someone that I highlighted. Where is that? I highlighted him on there. No, I did not highlight him on there. I think this was a guy. I got freaked out by his missed tackle rate. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stick to my board. And we either have we're gonna go Red Murdoch or York. That's my opinion.
Red Murdoch, give me some action.
And he has a better res score than
That's
York.
No lie. He won't. His mentality. He won't let himself fail. He's a perfect.
All right, we'll take Red Murdoch because that'll be a good pick, to be honest.
Great pick.
So we get to 157 on the board. So just to recap, I'm glad we took the linebacker when we did, because the linebackers fell off the board, and Nadeem Tucker's off the board too, so that sucks. But Caden Curry's there, defensive lineman, Skylar Gill Howard's there. Safety, who's safety? There's not really a good safety there, but I feel like Luis Moore could be someone. Deshaun Singleton is someone I like, but they're later in the draft. We don't have to worry about them right now. Marlon Klein's on the best on the board right now. Perkins, Golbin's on the board.
I kind of like who is the very top available? They say Singleton's the top available.
Yep.
I kind of like him or the Michigan tight end.
So he's a former. He's a downhill runner. He's a downhill runner. He caught 41 passes for 375 yards and 5 touchdowns. His partnership with Katron Allen, we know about that. Singleton is a physical runner who delivers hits and defenders. And at the second level, he's a problem for defensive backs, as he has early round potential and contention to be the first running back selected in April. Oh, he's not going to be the first running back selected in April. Yeah. But you know what? This is kind of like the area where we're at, where you can take a running back and not feel bad about it. So,
I agree, yeah.
I mean, I like Marlon Klein right there, but is there any tight ends? There's a couple tight ends I like behind him. Bentley's still available. Okay.
I'd say this too, just in off-season roster thought. I'd be more inclined to view tight end as more of a, and I know they only signed him to a 1-year deal, but like Conklin is like a really good signing for the Lions. Like that, it really does, check a box and more in terms of what I was hoping to. I just wanted to see them sign someone where I can be like, okay, wow, like we have Laporta, obviously. I like Brock Wright. But now we have another guy. He has 2,600 career receiving yards. He can do basically everything you ask him. So I'd be more apt to wanting to draft a tight end if we didn't already sign Conklin. I can make more of a, and both of them are still, it's not like running back. We have Pacheco, but running back is still a position that I come into the draft saying, even if it's in the 6th or 7th round, I definitely want one. And now if we can get maybe like Singleton's probably one of those guys where it's like, well, he probably stands out probably even more compared to our board. So I do think that would be, this is probably the very first point in the draft where I'd be like, okay, yeah, I could definitely, it would make sense to me to take a running back.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take Singleton because you kind of talked me out of tight end because obviously they have Conklin there.
I hate it, but they do have a guy that's like, Conklin's definitely going to play. Like, it's
that's why
hard for a rookie tight end to crack their roster, honestly.
That's exactly why we do this, because it kind of you allow yourself to be like, okay, this is why I would do this, and it kind of gets you to talk yourself off the board. But Singleton would be a great 1-2 punch for the future too. So let's just go Singleton here, and
Yeah, I mean, he could. That's a pick that realistically he could beat out Pacheco and be your full backup, or at minimum, even just with the running back position, it's a guy that probably would play either way. And compared to a tight end, that's probably tight end 4 coming into the year.
Okay, so we have there's some good players on the board for us here, but let's go recap. Monroe Freeling at 18, we traded back with Minnesota, got a future 2nd round pick, which is easy for us. R. Mason Thomas, who is a pass rushing specialist, at 50. Billy Sharoof at 118. Red Murdoch at 128. Nick Singleton at 157. We go to 181, and this is where, I mean, there's still some good players on the board, James. Like, we could have picked Jamari Taylor, but we picked Singleton. So I don't know, man. I'm looking at the board right here, and there's one guy that's just right off the board right here.
Yeah, I really like Caden Curry, and I like a couple of the defensive linemen on the board. I think that position honestly makes sense because really, I hope the Lions, a lot of people think they're going to take edge. If they don't take edge in the 1st round, you're kind of hoping it lines up to take it in the 2nd round. But let's say they do that like they did. We took the pass rush specialist, R. Mason Thomas there. I still want them to take probably even another edge rusher and or a defensive tackle. So, like, I'd love them to come home with 2 or 3 defensive linemen in this draft.
So here's what I would say about Caden Curry. So Caden Curry is the offensive. He's edge rusher from Ohio State. The one thing you got to remember about Caden Curry is 2 things. He's good at pass rush. I think his pass rush win rate was over 12%, so that's pretty good in the Big Ten. We're actually really good in the Big Ten. His run stop rate in the Big Ten was like elite of elite. So if you're looking for a guy who potentially could mimic what DJ Wadham is in terms of the run game, Caden Curry is kind of that guy. So that's why I lean Caden Curry right now.
I like that pick a lot, honestly.
All right, we'll go Caden Curry. This is setting up really well for us. This mock draft here. Jeez. So let's see what the other teams have picked. Let's go. Coogan went to Green Bay. Nice. Jaden Kennedy went to New York. Le'Veon Moss went to Cincinnati. That's a good pick for them.
Yeah.
Diego Pounds, who is a cornerback, went to Buffalo. He fits in with the short Buffalo cornerback room. Jaeger Burton went to the Buffalo in 168, so I knew he was on the board. So there you go. Trades. No, we're not going to do that. There's too many trades. But so far, our board has really hit on a lot of good picks. So, I mean, we just got to stick to it, to be honest.
So we're looking at
So what position should we right here? Because I mean, we look at the top.
Go to quarterbacks real quick. I mean, is there any of the guys that people would say
Altmaier, but you can get him as a UDFA to be honest.
I know
Wide receiver. I know Caleb Douglas was mocked in Dane Brugler's mock draft. He's an interesting one, big guy, but I don't know if you really want to go there. Tight end, Kozel's still on the board.
And we are in the we're now around last pick of round
205 is, I think that's
round 6 or the last pick around 5 for us.
It might be the last round of 5. Let's I don't know.
And then we have 6 and 7 after that.
Defensive linemen, we got these guys. Skylar Gill Howard's there. That's a good one. Safety, Lorenzo Styles, which is Styles' brother. Now, in my safety and cornerback group, I had Jamoon McCoy there. Kennedy's gone. Stokes is gone. Abney's gone. Andre Fuller's there. But Jacoby Thomas is the guy I had third on my board.
Okay.
And he's there right there for the pickings.
I was going to say DB would make sense on us, and just in terms of position right now, if it if it worked out. I know I always say that, but you can't just pick a position. But honestly, DB would make a lot of sense right now. So
his RAS score is 7.3. Lewis Moore is 4.4. That takes him out. Deshaun Singleton is 7.8, 7.9. Now he's an interesting one because he was a junior college transfer, and he had a season-ending injury in 2023 prevented him from building NFL draft momentum. But however, he was really good last year. Last year he had 2 interceptions, 4 pass defense, and 70 tackles. So he's pretty good there. In 2025, 2024, they had 1 interception. But Jacoby Thomas isn't the guy.
I like that, honestly.
This is a guy, he's a ball hawk. That's what he is. So, I mean,
that's a trait that the Lions clearly like in their safeties.
5 interceptions, 6 pass defenses, 75 tackles. I think we're going to go with Jacoby Thomas here. It kind of leans up to my board too, so that's good.
Let's check the corners this pick.
All right, so cornerbacks.
Bang.
Oh man, he fell.
Bang.
He fell.
I have to say this. For those who don't know me very well, I'm a Bowling Green graduate, love MAC football, diehard BGSU football fan. I have season tickets. I go to all the games. I even go to some away games. I hate the University of Toledo. So for me to be this excited about Toledo players, I even think the Emmanuel McNeil-Warren is incredible. Like if the Lions picked him in the first round, I honestly I'd be excited about it. But I'm pretty convinced they want to take Andre Fuller. And if you're in the 6th round and he's available, I just think it's a complete no-brainer. So I think you have to. I'd even consider taking him in the 5th round, to be 100% honest with you. I think he's underrated for what he is. If he went to a power, which he could have transferred to a bigger school if he wanted to, but I just think he's probably anywhere from a 4th to a 6th round type player.
Yeah, so he's obviously he's a 5th one on my board, and the reason I put him 5th on my board, I was looking at the notes really quickly, but the reason that he was 5th on my board, James, is because
I think you ranked him appropriately. I just think as a MAC player, I almost always bake in like Harold Fannin last year. I'm like, I see him as like a 1st or 2nd round pick. He went in the 3rd round.
I think
round at minimum in a region.
I think playing in the MAC really hurt him.
It does, for sure.
And
there is now some credibility that's starting to build with Toledo specifically.
Well, you have to give the MAC credit because they do produce some good players, better than the Mountain West. Okay,
and Toledo specifically, because now you got Quinyon Mitchell, which him going in the 1st round was like, I forget the
game changer,
but like he was like the first MAC DB to go in the 1st round, like in a very long time. Now you're going to have another one in Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. And now you have another DB who is for sure good enough to get drafted. I just think it's great value in the 6th round, honestly.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Detroit diehard. A lot of people in here said you got to go for tight end. At the last pick, go for tight end. I like the tight end from Dalen Bentley, which we talked about Dalen Bentley.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think this really, I really in the 4th round, if there was someone that they loved, I kind of view it's tough because I talk about the skill position. I don't view it as a huge need for them, but I do also view it once you get into the 4th or 5th round, if there is a guy you really, really like, I'm good with them doing that. As I said, I do think with them taking I view them acquiring Tyler Conklin as like they could he might be their tight end too if it really went amazingly and he played well. So I do question how much they view going into this draft at tight end. At the same time, both Conklin and Brock Wright aren't signed for next year. So, yeah. I mean, tight end wouldn't be crazy at all if they went in the 4th or 5th or 6th round. So
if we go to tight end, and you look at the board for us in terms of tight end, there's not a tight end on the board besides Kozel that's still on the board.
Who I really like, obviously, Tanner Kozel, but
yeah, but
I think
here you have
to. Sorry, no, keep going.
I think here you have to go Andre Fuller.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you. I just think and I think if we're doing it realistically too, like the Lions clearly have a lot of interest in him. If he's available in the 6th round, I'd almost be pretty shocked if they didn't take him.
I'd run up to the podium for sure.
Agreed.
So I think we're on equal terms. We'll get Andre Fuller right there. So we get to our 7th round, our last pick of the draft. Kozel's there, Styles is there. You could take a chance on someone that you want to take a chance on. I mean,
you locked on the Fitz board. Just FYI.
What?
You're on the wide receiver, tight ends. Oh, there you go.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
I got on the other screen. So if we go to all, there's not many players that you look available that are right there. I mean, there's a tight end right there in Will Karsamik. Kozel's there. So is Daquan Wright, he's an interesting one right there.
He is interesting, yeah.
He's a blocking tight end. I mean, do you want to draft him? No, I don't know. Defensive lineman, who do you got here? No. It's almost like who's at edge? Is there anybody at edge? Oh, you can get Spencer Fennell's brother if you really wanted that.
Oh, wow. Wouldn't be a bad pick, honestly.
Quarterback, Luke Altmaier is there. Wide receiver, Xavier Thomas. Malik Benson's here. This last pick, it's always interesting, but James, I'll let you leave the last pick. Who do you want to pick?
You know what? Just for the sake of it, just because I am pretty high on him, let's go Tanner Kozel. I think there's even him as a red zone threat alone. I think he's worth the pick. But I think if I'm painting it in the picture of the Lions like him enough to draft him, I think they would believe that they could develop him a little bit more as a blocker. I mean, the guy's gargantuan. I think he has some ability to become more of an NFL type blocker, even though that's just something in college he really hasn't been asked to do on any sort of level, just because you can just line him up in the slot and he can box out anyone and it's an easy automatic catch. And he's incredible. He really is incredible at like high pointing the ball, boxing people out, making the actually making the contested difficult catch. And this late in the draft, if you can develop any sort of blocking with them, you might be getting a real steal. And as is, this late in the draft, I just think someone with that ability to catch the ball and score touchdowns, it's worth the pick in itself, even if you don't develop the blocking.
So the draft gave us an A-,
Okay.
based on pick value and team needs. So we did a great job of that. Monroe Freeland got an A. Mason Thomas got an A. Shroof got an A-. So that was a pretty good one. Singleton got a B-. Caden Curry, A-. Jacoby Thomas, B+. Andre Fuller was given a B-. And Tanner Kozel was given a C.
Are you able to look through the full draft again of who people picked?
Yeah, I think I can do that. Let me see.
I was just curious where Cassius Howell ended up going in this draft, because I've seen him now start to fall into the second round, and that's kind of like a guy like our Mason Thomas. It's almost like the exact same profile. So I'd be curious because that's a guy that really at the very beginning of the draft process, I viewed him as because he was getting mocked like in the top 15. I'm like, yeah, I kind of don't view him.
I remember
that high at all.
Cassius Howell went to 35.
35. Okay. So if he was available, honestly, if he was, my whole point in this was just if he's available at 50, I think that might actually be an intriguing second round pick for the Lions. Just I think the value could potentially really be there with a guy like that. Because he is basically, I
agree with that 100%.
Thomas, yeah.
So yeah, it was a good mock draft for us. In terms of that, it's obviously everything. So the best teams that drafted in this draft, it gives you the total team drafts. Atlanta, Seattle, and Tennessee drafted the best because Atlanta's got 4 picks, so does Seattle. In terms of our draft, we drafted an A-, so that was again one of the top ones too. But our plus wasn't as good as actually ours was 9+. We had the third best draft in the draft, so
nice.
Good on us. Good on us. So all right.
Sweet.
That is the live mock draft. We did a lot of heavy lifting in this one. So Tigers won. Lions had, the mock draft. It's going to be interesting, James, because I'll show you the thing here. Our draft was 9+ 9.2.
Nice.
Which is really good. So that was really good. So good draft for us. I think we had a great draft last time. We had a great draft this time, but I think this draft is a little bit different. So it'll be a busy week. Obviously, we did the whole player fits. We did the Brad Holmes stuff. Now we're done with it, and we'll see you guys next time on the Detroit Lions News Podcast. This was a little of a daunting one, but we'll figure out what we're gonna do for draft night, so you guys can stay in the loop. We'll figure it out this weekend, and then we'll put it out there. And if we're going live during the pick, we could do that too. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. And if James isn't available, I'll do the whole. If second and third round, I'll do a video for that, recapping that, and then if we want to do a wrap up, we'll do a wrap up podcast for sure. But we're getting closer to a schedule release day, which is James's favorite day.
Yes, love it. Can't
James
wait.
loves schedule release day.
We're doing a live, like the second it ends, we're doing a podcast. I'm guaranteed
that day is always fun, and I go back to what I did last year, where I ranked the quarterbacks that we had to play and the edge rushers and everything. That's interesting, but this is gonna be a fun one. All right, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. To everyone who was still watching, there's a lot of them. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. If you miss any point of this, you go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Trying to get it out. YouTube, Apple, Amazon, Spotify. Thank you for watching, guys, and we will see you next week. Maybe we do one Monday, maybe just to kind of recap, but maybe we don't. Maybe we just go. Maybe we do whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. Lions, obviously, next week at this time we'll be getting up ready for the draft. So it's here. It is here. All right, have a good one. And next week we won't have the same one that James likes. So condolences to James, but we'll play it out one last time.